What is Borderless Conversations, or what's the podcast about? There's something that I realized that the people who have actually crossed borders, they didn't do that only because for the sake of it. They literally imbibed certain perspectives, certain attitudes, and certain work ethics or certain business ethics that is very peculiar to people like that. And so it was something I personally did. If I want to tell you more about my story and all of that, which I'll do later on. I just realized that these people have different perspectives that is worthy to share, especially now that there's a lot of issues with like geopolitics, and then there's like maybe like things about continents and countries. And I have grown in my career where I have come to understand the different levels of geopolitical policies and things that are happening, especially in technology, transfer of services, transfer of products, trade, and all of that. I literally have grown in my career listening and sometimes actually doing some level of work in that. And so it has become like very interesting to me and something that I really, really want to explore, especially on the podcast show as well, and also coming in with tips, and all of that. You see, so when I was coming here, one of the things that literally came to me was that people kept asking is that, oh, why is Borderless very focused on retail? And I thought that my story would be very, very interesting to say, right? And so before I even get into that, look at this number. The global retail market is estimated about 31.7 trillion in 2025 and is projected to reach I think 50 trillion market. That is actually the global retail market right now. According to the market size, there's a lot happening with forecasting and then like annual growth from there from 2026 up onto 2024, which is like a 5% growth. And then when you look at the different like regional data, you see that like actually North America has about 47.9% adding to the total number, which is not surprising at all based off on the experience that I've had in North America, especially like studying global retail, which was one of the strategy classes I took in my specialization class. And then, of course, followed closely by Europe, which is 33.2%. There's the Asia Pacific, which is 15.7, Latin America, which is 1.7, Middle East, and Africa, which is 1.3. But I think that these numbers are just very face value. And the only reason why I'm doing this podcast is to understand like how these regions are actually growing, what type of retail is happening in these very different regions, and that is what you get on Borderless Conversations, because then we're not only going to be talking about what is happening in a specific region or maybe a specific country or a specific culture, but what is happening across some of these borders. And so it will not only be relevant to maybe global companies, which is what they've been doing over the years, but it will also be very interesting to you, dear business owner, or someone who is building a career in retail, how you can form a perspective. Right. So the different people and the different guests that I bring on Globalist conversations are people who have worked in those type of industries. And so they can speak to it. Some of them have built businesses on this type of, stuff around maybe finance, around marketing and growth, around policy, legal regulations, compliance policy, all of those good stuff. And so like products, I think I already mentioned that already. And so these are the perspectives that you're going to be getting, and it's super interesting to me because then I'm going to be learning a lot. And then there's a session that is part of the podcast where we talk about like global stuff, has nothing to do with maybe like retail or anything, but it's super interesting to you or to us or even to me, because then you would have to understand that the mindset of the person or the mindset of whoever is building whatever, a retail technology or even in technology, the mindset is a very big part of what you're building, right? And so for you to even have the leap of faith to actually move from whatever it is you're doing in your border to go borderless, literally is a whole mindset. And so what I've been trying to do on the podcast is to actually understand the mindset of our podcast guest. It's very humble beginnings, but it's getting really interesting. It's getting like up to that space, and there's a lot of moving pieces, but I'm super excited about what is happening here on the podcast, and I just want you to have a side view about it.